Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Press Play, where I'm your host, Sid Frazier. And I look forward to an action-packed night with you tonight. You do not want to miss this edition of Press Play. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. We'll start off, we'll talk about a little bit of the NFL. Who's real and who's not? Pretenders and contenders. Then we'll slide into the NBA. We'll get to talk about the NBA upcoming season, along with the free agency moves. And lastly, James Harden. Really? James Harden? Really? You don't want to miss this edition of Press Play. Stay tuned.
I'm Jamison Williams. I attend Contenders College Preparatory High School in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a wide receiver committed to the University of Ohio State. I see a lot of great things in Dr. Hayes. She get me loose when I'm running my routes. I feel agile. Also on the track, it's the same thing, so I'm really loose running my races.
I'm Dr. Connie Hayes with Fit for Life Sports and Rehab. If you want a competitive edge on the field, call me, 314-532-0957.
And welcome back to Press Play. Again, I am your host, Sid Frazier, and I'm joined by my panel tonight. Here on the 4N, we got Tyler Coleman. T. Cole, how you doing tonight?
Good. Let's get
All right,
to it.
ready to go. Then we got Mr. Zelman Sanders, Big Z.
You know I'm ready.
In the house.
You know I'm ready.
All right, Will Franklin. We got Will Franklin, Mr. NFL himself. Mr. Franklin,
yes,
Will,
sir.
you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. Fellas, the NBA season. We're now into week 14, I believe it is, and we have a lot to talk about, man. We got some contenders we know about. Then we got some pretenders that we thought we knew about. We're starting to come back down to earth a little bit. I know we got some fans up here of those pretenders that I'm thinking about, but I'm going to let y'all handle it. Contenders and pretenders. We'll start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Contenders? Pretenders.
Yeah, definitely contender.
Definitely contenders.
Yes.
What makes you think over the last 2 weeks we see a contender in the Pittsburgh Steelers?
You were just seeing some of the things that happens in the NFL later in the season. The injury plays a part in it, but also, you know what I mean, just getting back to the fundamentals of football. You know what I mean? They went away from the last couple of weeks, even the last 2 wins before they ran into their losses. Coach Thompson was letting them be known like we're not playing great ball.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They inked it out a little bit. So
Big Z, hold on. He said a contender in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Did you see a contending defense the other night against the Buffalo Bills? I didn't see a contending defense, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That was not a contending defense.
No, I think they contenders based on a record, but based on what we've been seeing, I don't think so.
You got to be careful. You got a fan next to you down there. Come on now. You got to be careful.
I'm going to just put it like this. Ben Roethlisberger, that's our starting quarterback. I have trust in him. That's a veteran. Mike Tomlinson, he's legit. Defense, they come and play football. I'm not mad. We needed to lose. About
You
time.
sound like T.O. when you said that.
About
That's my
time.
Quarterback.
yeah.
My quarterback. We got some up-and-coming stars in the AFC, though. We got some up-and-coming teams in the AFC that's looking really good. We know we got the Miami Dolphins that's doing some things that actually grabbing a lot of people by surprise. But if you really pay attention to the Miami Dolphins, the last year or so, you can kind of see them starting to gain a little bit of traction. They got a young quarterback in there right now. What you seeing from Tua, Z, that make you think that this might be a team, even if not this year, but can continue here in the short future?
More so, not just Tua. Brian Flores, their head coach.
Okay.
He's really a disciple of Bill Belichick, and he got the defense going. He just need Tua not to mess up. So, so that defense is doing good things.
Right.
And the receivers is playing good in them shutdown corners. You talking about Jones and Xavier Howard. You could do a lot with that. Tua just don't want to mess it up. And what Brian Flores is helping him, allow him to start to get a better feel for the game and just manage it right now. So I'm liking the Dolphins.
So with that being said, T. Cole, he said something that kind of sparked my interest. He said that he's a disciple of Bill Belichick. Usually when you see Bill Belichick disciples, part away from Bill Belichick, it's usually not followed by success, whether it be player or coach. What's the difference between Brian Flores and the rest of the disciple tree from Bill Belichick?
Man, I think it's a little different when you get actually a chance to compete against the Patriots. Being in the same division with them, you kind of get a chance to know what Bill Belichick does. You're able to bring it because you played against those teams in that division already, which I believe really, really helps the Dolphins.
So, Will, with what he's saying about the Dolphins, we can also say, even though it's not a disciple of Bill Belichick, but that Buffalo Bills team. Yeah. We've seen that Buffalo Bills team trending the last couple of years. You got Josh Allen, who's now, those decisions that was losing him games last year, we see a whole different mentality now in that decision-making that's actually winning them games this year. What you expect from Buffalo coming down the stretch?
Man, big things, man. Over the last couple of years, like you were saying, Buffalo has really done well getting free agents and drafting. And if you see this team, it's a young team, but they got a lot of good nucleus together. Right. And they have QB1. And Josh is performing like he's one of the top QBs in the league at this moment. You know what I mean? I didn't see this early on out of him, and I definitely wasn't a fan of him, but the move they made to go get Tay Diggs helped him become a better quarterback. I
agree with that. And speaking of quarterbacks, we can kind of transition over to the NFC. We got the Los Angeles Rams out there, to me, who don't have a very good quarterback. But that defense, man, I take that defense against anybody. We was talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. To me, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense don't hold a candle to the Rams defense. That's my opinion. I don't care what y'all say. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense don't hold a candle to the Rams defense.
I agree with you because even with Allen, who came from Vic Fangio from the Broncos, I like how he's using Jalen Ramsey. He's like a corner, like Troy Polamalu. He's everywhere.
Shutting everything down.
And that front four, see, with them going to get Leonard Floyd, which Vic, he came from Chicago when they got
exactly.
So they knew how to use him. Right. So that front four is getting at it, and Michael Brocker's coming back and not going to Baltimore. That has changed the game.
It did.
So with them triple teaming, double teaming Aaron Donald, them other boys is getting at it.
Man, have you seen Michael Brocker's will? His physique has changed.
Yeah.
If you notice when Brockers first came in the league, Brockers was just a run stuffer.
Yeah.
You know, they was trying to just make him clog up, you know what I'm saying, A-gaps and just make him be a run stuffer. Well, now, man, his physique has changed. He done lost weight. You see him getting after the quarterback.
That's the Aaron Donald effect.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of Aaron Donald, I just want to make sure we get this understood. To me, he's the best player in football.
Hands down.
And the way he controls the line of scrimmage, because that wins games. The trenches win games.
Yep.
You mentioned about Jared Goff. Now, the defense is legit. That's going to carry you a lot, right? But Jared Goff is still your quarterback, and you're gonna see the real.
Z, before you jump on him about that, we got about 30 seconds left in this segment talking about the NFL. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, who we did not mention. Do we see the Kansas City Chiefs as a team that's capable of repeating, or do you think, in your opinion, that they will repeat this season?
They're capable of repeating. I just think, matchups make fights, so to speak. So if they come against somebody like Buffalo, they can cause problems because they can control the game. And if you keep Mahomes on the sideline, that's how you beat Kansas City.
That's been the formula for everybody, but that has proven to be tough to do. I tell you what, Kansas City, they're on an 8-game winning streak. Yeah. They got the Saints coming up next. The Saints is coming off injury. They're getting healthy, and we'll see what they bring to the table. And we ask that you all stay tuned with us as we take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of Press Play.
Jamison Williams. I attend Contenders College Preparatory High School in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a wide receiver committed to the University of Ohio State. I see a lot of great things in Dr. Hayes. She get me loose when I'm running my routes. I feel agile. Also on the track, it's the same thing, so I'm really loose running my races.
I'm Dr. Connie Hayes with Fit for Life Sports and Rehab. If you want a competitive edge on the field, call me, 314-532-0957.
welcome back, everybody, to Press Play. We're going to jump right into this next segment, which is the NBA, fellas. We know the NBA is just a couple days away.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of movement on this free agency market. Who won the free agency?
Lakers.
Not even close. You got the
Lakers.
6-man of the year, 6-man runner-up of the year. Hands down the
So
Lakers.
let me ask you this. How many times have a team won the free agency and won the title in the same year?
Well,
I'm going to say Golden State.
I think the Lakers too.
I'm going to say Golden State when they win
Even
that KD.
last year, when you talk about free agency or even just the trades, even how they did it on the fly to get the Dwight Howard, you trade for Anthony Davis, and then you get Rondo back, playoff Rondo. So they did that on the fly with Danny Green, and they won.
But a lot of times we hear about chemistry. One of the big words that you always hear in sports is chemistry. Did the Lakers, is it a chance that they may have done too much tinkering with this
got a
team? What do
culture.
you expect?
They got a culture.
But it's a short turnaround
it's
too.
a culture.
It's a
It's a
short
culture
turnaround.
thing.
It's a 10-game lesser season this year. Or they're
Yeah.
gonna have the time to make this
They
thing
gotta
gel.
they
and to
gotta
make
they
this
gotta
thing
come
work.
in a line. It's a culture.
If I must say, if it's one person that will make sure the chemistry is well,
Come on now.
it's that man LeBron James.
Let's go, James.
Everywhere he's been, it's been a real brotherhood fraternity there with those teams.
Why
From
is
the
that?
earlier days in Cleveland to when he went to Miami, now to LA, it's him. He brings the energy. He makes everybody feel a part of everything. So, you know how he's pumping up the kid. That's
You
what
see
I'm
that video
right
with
now,
Markeith
man.
when
He's pumping the
he
kid
was
up.
when they was in the tunnel,
Right.
and he's seeing them just enjoy. He looking like, man, this is real.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why does LeBron have that type of it factor on the rest of the league? Because we even seen when he went to Miami, we seen a superstar in Miami willing to hand him the keys to his Ferrari.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Why
right.
is that?
I think a lot of it has to do with the understanding. One, he's the chosen one. Number one, everybody around him knows that.
Allegedly.
Also,
Allegedly.
also, you got to understand a lot of these guys grew up on Bron, right? So that respect factor is already there of the understanding. He's their legend. I mean, he's their MJ. So for them to get a chance to compete or play against him, play with them, it's a bonus.
So I wanted to mention, we know that the Lakers did a lot. They brought in a lot of pieces, and we expecting those things, like I say, because of the LeBron James factor. We're expecting those pieces to just automatically gel.
Right.
But then you look at a team like the Suns, a young team, like the Suns, bringing in a player like Chris Paul.
Yeah.
What does that do to a psyche of a young team like the Suns?
I think that's gonna have the center.
Oh, it's huge,
it's
man.
huge, it's huge,
What
it's
Chris
huge.
Paul was able to do with OKC.
Come on now.
You expect
Now
the same thing?
Yes, man.
And you got Devin Booker.
He's a winner, man, but he's one of the most unselfish guys in the league.
So with that being said, that's a smooth transition. Then you look at some of the other things that are taking place in the NBA with John Wall going to Houston.
Yeah.
How do you see that working out? Him being down there with James Harden. It's only one ball. We hear so
I
much
think
about.
he just want to play. He just want to play.
John Wall just want to play.
John Wall want to play.
But how do you see that being? Chris Paul, we expect that to be a smooth transition.
Right.
But this transition in Houston, how do you foresee that playing out with a player like John Wall, who's been 2 years removed from the
Right,
game?
right.
Then you got a player like James Harden, whose hunger to win, I believe, is still there.
I don't know.
Or
I don't
is
even
it
know if he
still
got a
there?
hunger to win.
But how do you see that? How do you see that playing out with a John Wall coming to a Houston? But also on the flip side, with a Russell Westbrook going up and playing with Brad Beal.
I think they won that trade.
Yeah.
I think Washington Wizards won that trade.
100% they
You
won.
know, what Westbrook brings to the table is someone what Brad needs. You know what I mean? But that Houston situation is a disaster waiting to happen. It's going to
Houston,
crash.
we have a problem.
So you saying
Don't
that,
It's a
that,
big problem.
that Russell Westbrook is that big of a difference between John
In the
Wall?
East?
No, I'm saying as a player. He and John Wall, what they bring to the game to me is similar.
You talking about energy?
No.
You talking
Right.
about being
Thank
able
you.
to,
I'm talking about the style of play.
But you talking about energy and with him, as much as we want to say Russell Westbrook is selfish, a lot of people who have played with him, like even with Paul
They
George,
deny that.
Yes.
They deny
and
that.
they had some of their best seasons
Yep.
because
Right.
you let him do him. Now you have one of the best people to play off the ball in Bradley Beal.
Yep.
Tico, what you expect from Brad Beal in this situation?
He averaging 30. Hey, no, this is the thing. Actually, I believe it's poetry in motion, honestly. Brad gets a guy that's a dog. I've been asking people, and no one can answer this question. Who in the East can actually guard Russell Westbrook?
No one.
And when we talk about the point guards over there, he can be probably the most dominant point guard in the East.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, we've seen Russell actually take a small back seat when he was in Houston this year with James Harden. People thought that it was going to be a collision course where he's not going to pass the ball,
Right.
James Harden don't want to pass the ball. Where we seen Russell actually give in a little bit and actually move
Honestly,
the
I'd rather
ball.
play with Russell Westbrook than James Harden.
Period.
And I know what you get with him
we
every day.
We seen it when James left OKC and KD and Russell was together. They made it work. They really made it work. And when KD left, he put that team on his shoulder, which he later won the MVP of the season. I can see him having that caliber of season in the East. It's no guard that's going to be able to stay in front of him.
No.
In the
but,
East.
Hey, but one thing we forgetting though, we talk about moving parts. Hey man, the Atlanta Hawks, they got some moving. I do believe they got better. I'm gonna just be completely honest. You got Trae Young, you got him Daniel Gallinari.
You look like Z. You look like
That-
come on, Z.
That's
you
a
look
shooter
like
though. That's a shooter though. Bogdan.
I ain't feeling that,
Hey,
man.
no. Bogdan, you got a shooter.
He's
Chris
a shooter.
Dunn, you got defense now. Rajon Rondo, you got leadership. Don't forget they still got Clint Capella. They still have John Collins. Those fellas
So
can come together.
What
Well,
is
the
Cam
chemistry.
Reddish gonna do?
Right.
I mean, I think he could be a solid wing for
Man,
them.
Cam Reddish been a bust. You scared to say it. Cam Reddish been a bust.
And see, this is the thing. That's why you bring in a guy like
a
a Bogdan
pretender, man.
that can spread the floor. Are they pretenders? Maybe. Will they
I
get
don't
to the
even think they-
playoffs?
I don't even-
Yes, they
I don't
will.
even-
You think they're going to make the playoffs?
Yes, they
Man,
will.
in the playoffs?
They can get to
What, at
anywhere
7,
between
8?
6 to
Ooh.
8. That's in the East.
I
That's
don't
facts,
know.
no fiction. Hey,
don't know.
it's a guy that said
Who the
something.
top 5 you got in the East, though?
Talk soon.
I don't even know if they're good enough to be considered a pretender.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what the thing is we got to come back and revisit this soon. It's okay.
Yeah, we do.
Because Trae Young 30, we acting
I'm
like,
not sold on this.
and it's
At
okay.
all.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
let me ask you this before we close up this segment. We talked about Chris Paul going to the Suns. We see that as a smooth transition.
Yes.
Where do we expect the Suns to finish in the West?
I got him
got
top
him-
6 at
I
least.
got him
Yeah,
6 or 5.
yeah, around that range.
Around the 5 or 6. So that seems like a pretty smooth transition.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty smooth
The
transition.
West is deep. It's
Well, the West has been top heavy. It's been dominant, but we do see the dominoes starting to fall a little bit deeper into the West and into the standings. I'm looking forward to seeing that Chris Paul transition continue to be smooth,
Don't forget about Denver.
and Denver also continue
lost
to
a
just
lot,
up and rise.
And-
But we're gonna lead this point right here because we got to get to break. But I do want to rehash this, and right after break, we're gonna talk about the smooth transitions of Chris Paul and the lack thereof of James Harden. James Harden, really? Really? We'll be right back with more Press Play. And welcome back to another edition of Press Play. We thank you all again for being with us tonight. Fellas, we was talking on the break, and we was talking before we went to break about the NBA. And we was talking about James Harden. We also mentioned Chris Paul. Before we get into James Harden, I want to talk about Chris Paul a little bit and his transition to the Phoenix Suns and his leadership and what he's going to bring to their young team. I'm excited about the Phoenix Suns. I saw what they were able to do last year in the bubble. They fell a little bit short in the bubble, but man, they were the hottest team when it started back up. They were the hottest team. Nobody wanted to play them boys. I guarantee you nobody wanted to see them if they would have made it to that next step in the playoffs. What we seeing from Chris Paul and what do we expect him to bring to that table? Like we say, just as far as leadership, Will, you've been in the locker room.
Yeah.
How important is that to a group of young guys who hasn't accomplished what he's accomplished, even though him not being a champion, but the things that he's accomplished in that league is still second to none?
Man, to be the president of the NFL, NBA PA, you know what I mean, that there speaks volume. You know what I
Right.
mean, just across the league. So
Right.
when he walked in that locker room, he was the guy.
It's attention, yeah.
He's conscious
Off the
about
bat.
everything.
Of everything. You know, so to have a guy like that with such a young group, you need someone that can help mentor
Right.
the entire group and not just Devin Booker.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Everyone in there, you know what I mean? They got a young kid in the center. What's his name?
DeAndre.
Yeah, he's a young guy. He
He's
needs
nice.
a veteran
He's
guy
nasty.
like
Go
a
get
Chris
him some
Paul.
easy buckets.
You know what I mean?
Go
To
put
help
him
him.
in place
Yeah.
to know where he need to be.
Yeah.
And see with Chris Paul being a dog, that's gonna raise up even their defensive intensity.
Yep.
Right.
You know.
I think Chris Paul playing with DeAndre Ayton, then you got your shooting guard and Devin Booker. It's gonna be poetry.
Yeah.
It's gonna look the way it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
And everything that Chris Paul touches, it gets better.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I know James Harden is sitting over there wishing that he had that guy right about him.
So
Exactly. He ain't gonna say it.
With that being said, speaking of Chris Paul and how wonderful his transition is, with that being said, we're seeing some of the polar opposites with James Harden in Houston. Ty, what you hearing about James Harden down in that Houston situation? What have you heard about that?
Man, for a long time he wasn't reporting to the team training. He finally came for the first time today. They opened up in 9 days. Coach Silas said he had a talk with James. It sounds like they're at a better spot, but James still has never shut down the trade rumors. So that's a little bit where we at right now.
So wait, before you jump in, Z, let me ask you this: How does that happen? You got
James
a
Harden
superstar
think
of
he
a
a rapper.
franchise. You got a
think he a
superstar of a
rapper.
franchise. So I mean, to me, honestly,
Think he a rapper.
it seems like he's holding that franchise hostage a little bit, if you ask me.
He is.
Because everything that they done, even with Daryl Morey, even though he's gone, he left remnants of his way, the small ball analytics. James Harden, you was a part of that. This
Right.
man took out an ad to say how much he was appreciative of you. So that means he did everything. So whether it's good or bad, it's all on you, James Harden. You say you want to be a leader, but you ran Dwight Howard out. You ran Chris Paul out. You ran your LA native partner out. So now who's to blame? Now you think you just finna go to another team and now all of a sudden you want to play for a championship? Talking about Brooklyn? Please.
You shaking your head. What you think? What you got to say?
I'm with the big fella, man.
So
He's a counselor.
Yeah.
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 So with that being said, though, you just mentioned something. You said about the teams that he's rumored himself
Right.
he wants to be a part of.
Right.
One of those teams is the Brooklyn Nets. But you heard rumors of Kyrie kind of grumbling
Right.
about that. So with him being in Brooklyn or wanting to go to Brooklyn, first of all, do you even think that would work? I don't even think that it's a possibility of that happening. But would something like that even
Did
work?
you hear what KD said? Like, I'm not thinking about James Harden. He's not on my team. I'm thinking about my team. Now, whether it's true or not behind the scenes, and if anybody know James Harden, KD know him.
Hey, Z, I'm going to tell you this. I'm calling BS on Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way James Harden wants to come without somebody over there letting him know we want you.
Yep.
So
Now-
you think that's Kevin Durant behind the scenes?
100%.
I can't really say it's
no,
just
hold
behind
on.
the scenes.
Hold on, but listen to me though, Z.
I'm
It's the reason. The thing that I have a problem with is, Kyrie Irving is already your teammate.
Right.
There's no realistic trade to get all three of you on one team.
Yep.
So either you saying that Kyrie's up for grabs,
No.
or you have to be. It's something. Okay.
So you saying that's from just digging into the mind of KD?
I can't say that because KD followed Kyrie to Brooklyn.
True that.
Hold on.
He said, I'm going to Brooklyn. Kyrie did say, let's just go to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Then Brooklyn had to see KD say, I'm going to Brooklyn on the internet. That was Kyrie who went first. I'm not saying he wouldn't want to play with James Harden, but they know they're not finna get Dinwiddie, LeVert, and some couple picks for no James Harden. It's not happening.
So what you finna say?
Hell will freeze over. Literally, hell will
Right.
freeze over if they ever make that move to bring James Harden to Brooklyn.
Right.
And that's
That
what
is
I'm
not the move.
It don't make sense for nobody.
It makes no sense.
But another problem that I would see is the way that Kyrie has been performing in the media. Bringing even a story of a possibility of James Harden coming to that town with the media frenzy that Kyrie has already created.
Yep.
What does that do to that locker room even further? I mean, because like you say, Kyrie himself, to call the media peons. One thing I have a problem with athletes, with the media, I have no problem with an athlete not wanting to give the media his full inside scoop. I understand that.
Yeah.
But you got to realize something. The media is the same people that can build you up and make you a star.
Yeah.
And they're also the same ones that can tear you down.
That's how he got noticed through the media, even from the high school ranks to the college ranks to the draft and to the league. We get that. It's just, he's a different type of guy. It's like he go out his way to try to be the smartest guy or be this eclectic person.
Attention.
Yeah, it's not working.
AZ, let's just call it what it is. Kyrie, be quiet.
Thank you.
Just be quiet.
Guys
Show me
like that
that you
drive
can
me
stay
crazy,
healthy.
man. Yes.
Show me that you can actually be a part of a team.
How do you
not
silence a
led with
champion?
LeBron James and actually make it work?
How do you
man.
silence a champion though? You said led by LeBron James, but I remember Kyrie hitting some big shots in their final to lift them to that pinnacle moment. So how do you silence a champion? How can
This
you
is the
tell him?
reason. This is the way you can silence a champion. That champion that you're speaking about before King James arrived was in that lottery every year.
Okay.
When King James left, he went to the Boston Celtics.
Yes.
That young man tore that team apart. They got better without him.
And
All
you know
right?
Tatum really didn't want to play with him no more.
No, he didn't.
You can see that.
He did.
He didn't want to play with him no
He
more.
did.
They should have took him to the back and,
And also, hey, Kyrie,
They say
man,
behind the old woodshed.
Get away.
Man.
and Kyrie, man, get away from them incense, man. What are you doing?
Yeah.
He doing?
He didn't want.
When you look at Kyrie,
You want voodoo dolls?
that's what I was going to say. When
What
you look at Kyrie and the way that he's behaving right now, I don't know if y'all remember. Ty, you might be a little too young, but y'all remember back in the day when Ricky Williams first went off the rails?
Yeah.
Does that bring back a little bit of resemblance of what we see
He
now?
started twisting his hair. We know
When he
what's going
started choosing
on.
half his hurt, or like how Martin was when Martin kind of took off and he had to go find himself. He came back with half his hair braided,
They
half
did just
afro.
pass that rule for them to be able to smoke too, so it may be helping.
And I'm gonna tell you, this, Z.
It did.
And Z, back to what I said about that Kevin Durant. He had a year to sit back and watch how Kyrie Irving moves.
Yeah.
Trust and believe. He knows that incense. He ain't sitting there in incense. The man said on Kevin Durant's first episode of his podcast, "We ain't got no coach, or we going with, or whatever he said on that." You're not respecting your coach when he's an NBA player from day one.
Hey, but look here, fellas. I hate to have to break this off, man. I hate that this have to come to an end. But unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end. So with that being said, we want to thank you all, the viewing audience, for being a part of Press Play with us tonight. If you missed something we said, or you can't believe that we said something, simply go back, rewind the tape, and press play. We want to thank you all again for being with us tonight. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow night for another edition of Press Play. Do not miss it. Good evening, everybody.